Hello, Lee, and welcome.
Right. Thank you. Thank you. I feel very welcome. Thank
Good. So, just a couple of things I just want to just start with, but then I know we're going to open to Q&A, and I really want you to feel free to say anything you want to say, share anything you want to share, what's present for you, what you'd like to do, and we have a few people here that I'm sure will be really happy to join a Q&A with you. So, here's one of the things that when last we spoke, and it was when you were here with John, we were talking about that you were a dancer. And it it interests me personally for a lot of reasons, but I just want to know how that felt for you. Did you dance in front of people? Did you do recitals? How long did you do it for? What did you learn from doing that?
It's a great question. Dancing was my first passion of my heart when I was a little girl. My mother took me to the ballet, and I that was it. And then I was taken to New York to musical comedy, and I just fell in love with musical theater, music and dance together. And I thought, that's what I want to do. So I started really very young, maybe 4 or 5 years old, and kind of training. I say training because my mother wasn't just once a week you're going to a ballet class to have good posture. No, this was serious business. She was very disciplined and very dedicated that I fulfill whatever little dreams I had. So until I was about 17 years old, she was this willing chauffeur to dance classes. And I studied with really great teachers. I was in the Midwest, which at that time just wasn't the best place to be to get great teaching. So I would go up to Toronto, Canada, and study with the National Canadian Ballet Company there. And it was such an aspiration. But at about 17, I got super clear, maybe it was 16, that I was never going to be able to fulfill the quality level I wanted to, because Balanchine was my gold standard at the time. And you looked at his 17-year-old dancers and 18-year-old dancers, and I just went, this isn't looking promising. So I began to shift, didn't know what I was going to go to next until I was at Northwestern University and discovered theater. And that was the real lightning bolt um, for me. I knew clearly and exactly that was going to be my focus, was theater. And it was for years and years. It became film, but it was established very firmly on the foundation of theater.
So, with that, starting with dance, we talked about discipline and things like that that are involved with that, the learning to practice.
Mhm.
And to me, when I look about you talking about how you like to study, how you liked books, that there
Mm.
was that maybe was a parallel discipline, but fed another part of you at that time. Could am I on to something
You're
there?
right onto it. Yes, I was by nature very introverted. So going to class and dancing, practicing, and then reading, school was a challenge because I didn't feel very confident in how I spoke with my peers because I was around older people most of the time. And I found them so easy, you know, than my peers. I just didn't understand the languaging or the cultural ways to be. I was very, very awkward. And um, so yes, my reading was full immersion. I became kind of a speed reader young, which was very much to my advantage when I became an actress, having to learn 30 and 40 pages of dialogue in a night, where I could speed photograph it, read, and move on and keep moving. So books have remained a passion. I have them kind of piled everywhere with notes, like 5 going at a time, trying to remember to complete periodically and say, this is done for now. But sort of avaricious about learning, the adventure of learning, that learning one thing leads me to another thing. And then dear Olga gets a call saying, would you order me this or this more book? Um, and then I just keep that adventure going. But
Right.
discipline is a big key.
Discipline is, but also once you have the grace in your body and the physical kind of grounding of something like that, the shyness you can still have, but at least you have the grace to
Mhm.
be, to have that confidence going forward, that as you physically move through the world, that
Well,
you,
I don't know that I ever quite had such a poetic view of it for myself. That's very beautiful. And I think that is one of the things you gain with that kind of immersion in movement and the discipline that wasn't just physical, it was here. Uh, the poetry was here. And then the love of great artists. Oh, I fell in love with the artistic nature because I was around artists so much at the time. To this day, when John was mentioning it this morning on Blessing This Day, my tribe, it is a kind of understanding when that we're all a little crazy, we're unexpected, we're very spontaneous, we're not linear thinkers, we're more associative in our thinking, which I find just as efficient as linear thinking. I don't know, as both John and Olga could attest, when I look at numbers or certain things, my brain just goes, I don't think so. Yeah. So we go with what we learn about ourselves that gives us great joy and the artistic spirit uh, to express, to share uh, your heart through dance or through theater or speaking, whatever you can do that way. It's a joy.
right. So just, this is kind of a little bit on that though. Can you say a few words about courage?
It's one of my words qualities for the year, courage. I love courage. And courage has been a shadow self for me my whole life because I had so much fear to step out and be in front of people, terror, not just fear. Um, Social interchange was sort of terrifying and didn't feel confident socially, particularly. Um, and my great teachers were my acting teachers because just being in front of people to do a scene was more manageable because you were behind a character. You were fine tuning a character that was using you, but it wasn't just you. It was something you were kind of behind. When it got to the point where JR, when I was with Muktananda, these great beings to me would ask me to present them or introduce them. I just, I was overwhelmed with, I, can I really do this? And JR kind of had his foot on my back. And when I was scared, there were moments I remember when he would take me up in front of 1,000 people and make me look at everybody in the eye. Insight helped. And I feel like courage has been something I think I have, but every time I facilitate, I'll say to John, I feel like I'm walking the plank. And once I'm sort of pushed in the ocean, it gets better. But up until then, it's like, and the same when I was about to go on the stage because the curtain went up. Uh, all very similar. So courage has been a shadow ally to me that I depend on because I've utilized it again and again and again. And it's like building a muscle. You know you'll live. So
Yeah, I
I love
sense that. I sense that from you. And just it's sort of like the combination of you that is the soft person that likes to drink tea and have quiet time, and yet you've been able to, not just in where we see you in MSIA, but in a career where you have to be very public facing. I think that really sometimes you just have to go, the Italians, coraggio, that's the thing that they'll say
I
right
like
before you get out
Nancy.
on stage. Coraggio, you can do it.
Yeah.
So I just felt that, and I thank you for saying something about that. I think Steve Fogel had a question, and I would love to bring him in here for just a minute.
Yeah.
Hey, Lee, and it might even be a kind of a continuation. As we first called in the light, this phrase came in my mind, and somehow I thought it was going to relate to you. And then you were talking about this, and it's this idea. I don't even. It's not exactly a phrase I've used or heard, but it's the edge of perception. And I'm wondering, as you talk about this courage and moving out, is there a place where one of your allies is that higher consciousness? Like, can you talk about your experience of being able to go from the one place of perception, the individual perception, and then moving into the greater perception, that ally that is the higher consciousness?
What I get with your question, Steve, for me is definitely the ally of the higher consciousness is that it's just a surrender and an openness. I love the word open. I love openness. To me, it's the positioning of my arms open, my heart open, and I'm not going to die. It's like surrendering myself up to something much bigger than me. And I trust that. I really have, and built is a word. I have built a deep and profound trust in that. When I first started learning to do ordinations, I understood right away from all the years of being called forward to speak in front of people, uh, that moment of letting go where it's a free fall into something greater. I've done my preparation. I've done the discipline. Let's say I've learned the lines, the situation, what generally I might. And then it's just this wondrous kind of letting go. When you do an ordination, God's doing it and you're being used. And that, again, that moment where, okay, you set it up, all the words that you say at the beginning, and spirit brings forward the blessing. That moment is no longer yours, it's God's. And you're opening and surrendering yourself completely to whatever you're going to be hearing inwardly in the heart to speak in a divine moment to this beautiful person. But it's God's moment, not yours. That to me speaks to what I think you're asking when you walk past that moment where it's really no longer your ego or your structure or what you've prepared. You're letting yourself be used. And there's just, in my humble opinion, it does take sometimes some courage to make that. It's like, it's a, what's the movie? Indiana Jones, when he steps on the invisible stairs and
Mm,
the leg goes out and you're stepping and you're safe and God's got you. That's an amazing experience.
yeah. Um, I don't know if it's the forum, but having you, it's maybe worth asking. You must have some wonderful anecdotes. I mean, all of you spent a long time with JR, and and with John and with the movement, and maybe not just the stars, but of the movement, the travelers. But you probably maybe longer than anybody else on this call have been an initiate and part of this spiritual family. And I was just wondering if you might share a few anecdotes or experiences.
Oh my goodness. Um, well, it's just sort of this experience I'm having of the passing visions or images and the richness of gratitude that I have that my life led me to step into MSIA. And of course, it was meeting JR. Our beloved Sally Kirkland, fellow actress. We knew a lot of actors in common. Our most prominent one was Robert De Niro, who I'd made a film with and she had studied with. So when she was coming out to make a movie, he said, "You've got to look up Lee." And then she and I bonded. And all she could talk about was this man, John Roger. But I was deeply immersed in Muktananda. And I finally, because Sally is a very potent being. And I said, "Honey, you've got to back up a little bit. I'm a one guru woman. I'm not available to this conversation." But of course, eventually she didn't give up. She stopped by one day with 3 cassettes of JR's and talked to me about getting married at Prana, played me her wedding, and I felt the energy. She left and she said, "Oh, don't listen to these all at once." And of course I did. And I was marching up the canyon of my home in the middle of the night going inwardly, this man is telling me the truth. It wasn't that Muktananda hadn't told me the truth. It was just something that was like being called home. 2 days later, I met JR for the first time, and that was it. I mean, that was just it. And I remember JR coming into my first service appointment at Mandeville at the time. And he said to me, "I'm always going to tell you the truth," because I'd not had that experience in my business easily. Truth was not the banner of the day. You know, I struggled a lot with what I would see and understand and then not be told. You know, that disparity. JR sort of brought it in to the fact that I could know that he was there. And of course, the truths that I began to hear were like everything my soul knew and was constant affirmation, just constant affirmation. I couldn't get enough. Talk about buying books. Polly Sanderson can attest to the next day I came to Prana, bought every book and every tape. We were carting out boxes and she turned to me and her wondrous wry way said, "You have heard of spiritual indigestion, haven't you?" And but JR really look, I felt like he really looked after me. I think he knew that I was a sweet person, but I was a bit of a wild child, slightly not the easiest to control. And I would, if I had a long choke chain of spirit around my neck, he'd let me get right to the edge of the cliff, ready to sort of fly off, thinking that it was a soft landing, but wasn't. And he would just gently pull the chain. He saved me from many uh, maybe potentially harmful destinations. I just trusted everybody. And I remember he'd say to me, "People have to earn your trust." And that was a novel thought for me. Again, I was open. It was just like, no, I don't know. We all know that there's nothing like having had the experience and have the experience of John Roger. If any other anecdotes, of which I have so many, but right now I'm
Well,
not thinking.
as folks, let's give folks a chance to ask questions, but if they come along, I mean, it's just wonderful. I think so many of us, just are interested, in the history, like across the Golden Bridge. I have that book on my shelf, and my good friend Peter is on the call here, and some folks are just sort of in a way, obviously there's the inner experience, but we love hearing about, the old days, where some of us, just didn't have that privilege, so it's nice to hear about it.
I like Jackie Peterson's book tremendously, Soul
Yeah,
Transcendence. That's another one capturing all these stories
yeah.
of people. I mean, the stories to me are endlessly interesting.
Yeah, Paulie's book or
Yeah.
um, yeah. But yeah, so thank you. I mean, for being willing to share some of the oral history as well as, the written history.
My pleasure.
So with that, as Steve said, I think we back up and say, if there is something else you want to say, discuss, etc., feel free. And if, as you're talking to people, you want to take a moment to, this,
Yeah.
how to feel your way through. So I don't need to educate you. I just want you to have the freedom. I want you to know you're here and you have the freedom.
Thank
And
you.
so here's my question. We
Okay.
do have hands up. I can call them or you can call them. It's up to you.
Um, oh, I just wanted to make sure my eyes could see them. I can,
Okay, good.
and before I start, I would like to share a little bit about the joy of the banner that you sent, Living in God's Holy Thoughts, which is genuinely one of my favorite phrases that we are blessed to have. And I thought, wow, that is kind of my best effort, um, is to consider that we're aspiring to live in God's holy thoughts, in the light. Uh, Again, I heard a tape of JR that he repeats this information, thank God so much, but he was saying you can never call in the light enough, just hundreds of times in the day, because someone said, is 3 times enough? he kind of said, well, not really, and he then talked about how many times he does it, and he doesn't leave the house without, he doesn't make a phone call without it. And someone said, well, do you call in the light, like the actual practice of call? And he said, no. And they said, you don't? And he said, no, because I am the light. And I figure that as much as we are practicing it, that he was demonstrating, and what he was saying is you become the light. You become that one who is living in God's holy thoughts because you've permeated your cells, your consciousness, your brain, all your bodies, astral, causal, mental, etheric immersion in the light. And we do, I think, as we go on, we become radiant beings of light, that everywhere we walk, it makes a difference in this world. And I think how much better could it be? We all have our jobs, but wherever we are, it's making a difference. So let's see, Carol Neal.
Yay. Hi, Lee.
Hi there.
I love you. I love you. Oh, I'm so happy. So I've been hoping to connect with you for a while to thank you for a number of things. So first of all, you might remember this about 1.5 years ago. I had a sharing with John at conference, and my husband and I were about to say goodbye to our Great Dane, Lily. We had the vet coming, and I had posted afterwards on Facebook, and you put this little note, and I don't know if you remember what you said, but you said, Carol, John and I are with Lily. And it just touched me so deeply. It meant so much. It still does. So thank you. Thank you. That's one thing. The other thing is, Janet introduced you as an ambassador for humanity. And absolutely, your ministry to humanity is just, I admire you so much. More than that as well, I'm so aware of your ministry to the animal world. And I have had experiences in my dreams where you're there, and you're honestly, the best way I can describe it is you're like a great archangel in the animal world. I've even had some where you're there and Lily's with you. So it's so beautiful. But I want to thank you for that ministry because, I don't know, you may not recall, but my work, and which is part of my ministry, is with dogs and their people. And it just really, really touches me so deeply. You and John share quite regularly on Blessings This Day about different animal experiences that you have. So that was the second thing. The third thing was to say thank you on Blessings This Day. And I don't know how long ago it was, some time ago, but you had shared about the series, The Chosen. And oh my gosh, like it has, I was raised in the Anglican Church, and I had real experiences as a child and a teenager with Jesus. And just through life experiences, I separated myself from that relationship. And that series, that actor does, Jonathan Rumi, he does such a beautiful job. And I just feel like I have this reconnection to my best friend on the inner of this unconditional loving. So thank you, thank you, thank you for all of those things. I just love you.
Honey, thank you so much. Thank you. I still love The Chosen. I rewatch it.
I do too.
And just this is anecdotal, talking about anecdotes, but on Christmas morning, this Christmas morning, somehow someone sent me the text number of Dallas Jenkins, who writes it, produces it, and
Produces, yeah.
he's quite a character. I see him, I really like him a lot. And I wrote him, I used that text, and I wrote him a text telling him how much I loved The Chosen, that I was so grateful that all those actors, not only in the time of Jesus, he said, come follow me, and they did, but that these actors are following that Christ energy, and that Dallas is following that Christ energy. And I was grateful for that. And I said, I would love to be on The Chosen. And
Oh,
that was so bold. Talk about courage. Oh, that was like the ultimate vulnerability. I put it out. I said, I would love to be amongst you. I've had a long career. I gave a few minor details. And this is so funny. So maybe 2 weeks, and I sent it, maybe 2 weeks goes by, and I'm driving somewhere, and I see a text response from Dallas Jenkins. And I really I thought I didn't know how I was going to get to my destination. I was so excited. I got there and I opened it. It was him. It was like a video talking, but I couldn't get the sound up. I had to figure that out. I figured that out. And then what he was saying, I have a special gift for you. I'm going to give you a deduction on anything you might want to buy in our store. T-shirts, hats. And I went, this is really disappointing. Another opportunity to let go, but I was so proud of myself
yeah.
for putting it out, in such a heartfelt, vulnerable way. Even if it was a response about a deduction on a T-shirt, I still feel like it was a good thing. Anyway, into the light that goes. But I love the show. We have a new season coming up.
I know, I'm excited.
Thank
You, Lee.
darling. Bye. Joyce.
Oh, thank you for calling me, Lee. I just want to thank you for taking such good care of our traveler. And I just see you as the Mary Magdalene to Jesus, or the Claire to Saint Francis, and that, when I chalice you in the morning, it's you and John. I see you as a unit. So gratitude for all of that. You inspire me in so many ways. I didn't know you did ordinations, but I tell you, your planetary blessings just, whew. And can you just speak more about how you do that? Do you like see it, hear it, sense it, feel it? How does it come in so that you don't slide into this formula of doing a planetary blessing. And the other thing is, how on earth do you memorize 30 pages of dialogue? Oh my word. So those are my questions, or
Oh,
answer in any order you wish.
thank you. Well, I love the question about the planetary blessings because I was having a memory driving yesterday about the first time I think I was opened up to receive that opening for the planet. I've told this story before. Forgive me if I'm repeating it, but it plays into this. It was the 90s. I was on my way to show up for shooting. I was shooting a movie of the week with Bob Newhart. And it was interesting. Jackie Cooper was directing, if any of us remember him from our youth. And I was driving, and it was in the days when we had such extreme smog before we really got to making those, putting those things on the cars that made a big difference. And I was on the freeway. I could hardly see 20 feet ahead. My eyes were burning. And it was the word Gaia came into my consciousness, the planet, the feminine. And I was overcome with the presence of what I would call the spirit of the earth, the real living spirit. And I got a complete knowing inside of my heart that the planet is alive. It's a living, breathing consciousness. It's not just this physical material planet in space in a galaxy and a soul, all that, yes, but it's an organism and has consciousness. And it was like I heard her voice in my heart of pain and suffering, like a mother who's wounded, suffering at how she's treated by who she loves. And that the intention I got of Gaia was only to give, only to bring fruitfulness, waters, air, nature, earth, us, and nurture us. And we just hurt her. And it was that sense, not of blame, but of a poignant voice of asking for love in return for all the love she feels for us and for life. And I started weeping so much. I talk about not being able to see. I had to pull off the freeway and just weep. I was having an anointing. I was sweating. I was weeping. I was under this kind of mantle of understanding of the planet and empathy and compassion and wanting to serve the need. And I think it was at that time that I started having this sensitivity to hearing that, to understanding it. When I came into the movement, and we all become more acutely sensitive to the Christ frequencies, to the traveler, to the angels, to all those beings of love, light, and sound that work with us, our helpers, and also as I was moving more into doing the understanding of doing an ordination, which is a blessing that God gives. The first time I was asked to do it, I was sitting with JR. I'd already had this experience, and he and I were having lunch. This was an anecdotal moment for sure. Pardon me. And I had just been hired by the United Nations to work for the environmental part of the United Nations called the United Nations Environmental Program, a very significant program in the United Nations. And my boss was a very powerful man for the environment, and I was a goodwill ambassador. And I said to JR, I want to do a meditation on healing the earth. Would you, I have words written, would you help me? I would love to do it in the General Assembly of the United Nations. JR did one of those looking up, came back and said, you can do that. And so this just started to pour out of me, and it became the spirit of peace, which I just heard the other day is just a really lovely planetary meditation. I highly recommend it for children because it's so visual. At any rate, I ended up doing it in the General Assembly in December of that year. John Morton was there. Some MSIA people were there. All the agencies of the UN were there. So all the heads of all the different agencies were sitting in their austere seats. And I got up and I introduced it and I asked them to close their eyes. I knew right away that this was not something familiar to them, to close their eyes. But we did it and placed all that light in the General Assembly. The Society of Prayer for Peace, World Peace was there, and they did a beautiful flag ceremony for peace. It was wonderful. And that was the first time I really got my taste of surrendering and letting that place inside me that was sensitive to that consciousness speak in cooperation with the spirit of the earth. And then I just began doing them more and more. And for me, they're like an ordination. They're like spirit saying what it wants to say. Each time it's kind of different for me. But every time I feel it so deeply that this earth is alive, that this earth loves us for what we do and where we walk and the light we hold, that we're caretakers, just like we love each other. This is a home and it is alive. And is that way I see it. The earth is being anointed by us in the Christ consciousness with the Christ. That's what I see. But again, it's like practice. We continually call on the light. We continually refer to John Roger and John as travelers and the Christ, Jesus, and this beautiful holy ground that we have a blessing to bless. Thank you for asking me about it. What was the other question?
Yes, how on earth do you memorize 30 pages of dialogue?
Well, it's like anything. If you think of it that way, it'd be like somebody saying, oh, I just went to the gym and I lifted 1,000 pounds. And you go, how did you do that? You build up to it. It's like experience built upon itself. I have a relationship with the printed word, having started to read so young. My ability to kind of contain what I'm reading has an acuteness to it, also developed. Then reading fast and retaining what packs in there as well. Then when you have a job, I have a deep sense of responsibility to that word job. If I have a job, I have an inner ruthlessness to get the job done and to do it well. And that's there as the discipline that I learned so much young. If you're asked to do something and you agree, you're on, game on, you're on. Not only game on to learn, but those lights turn on in the morning and they say action. Nobody wants to hear an excuse about anything. You have to be off the page, and not only in the memorization, but bringing energy and life to whomever is speaking through you. So I think it's an acquired over time. I wouldn't call it an unusual skill. It's a pragmatic skill that you need if you're going to be an actor. Thanks for asking that. Thank you. Okay. Miriam in Tucson, a place I love, Tucson.
I want to thank you for calling on me, first of all. And I've just feel so much connection with you through the blessing this day every day and the ways that you reveal things that must feel very vulnerable, whether it's physical things, mental things, emotional things. And I'm just really in awe of watching how that whole experience has expanded and how both of you really are so present with the day to day, whether it's, the daily word or the news or politics or all of that. So I just want to express my appreciation to you for that. And also my appreciation to you for your ministry with us and with John around humor. Um, um,
You're a good one.
I had the experience probably about 10 years ago now, and I don't think you guys were married at the time, of doing stand-up comedy at Prana, and he was right up front. And his reaction was, you were at the Golden Globes last night. His reaction was much the way Taylor Swift reacted to Joe Coy. Kind of, and an occasional scowl, if I'm honest. And I took it very personally because it's really hard to do that, say one thing after another with that response. And it was actually healing for me to watch you and John around humor, because I scratched my head and I said, maybe this didn't have much to do with my stand-up. So anyways, just kind of vulnerable for me to share that, but that's, that was, I hadn't done anything since until Living in Grace, last month. So
Oh,
it
it was
just,
funny. Thank you so much.
it was a bold move for me to be able to go, okay, I'm going to, whether or not John's in the front seat, now he's with you.
Well, I want to respond to one thing about blessing this day. For me, the master giver of blessing this day to all of us is John, because he finds all these magnificent songs. People send them, but he listens to every one and he picks the excerpts. And then he has invited me into that space. I feel invited. So you can only imagine how easy it would be to go, you're the traveler. I'm grateful to be asked. And that shyness would come up and he's right there, puts his arm around me. And not only it isn't allowing me, but encouraging me, or turns to me to speak to me. What do you have to say? And that's, again, never been an easy area in my life. And he's nurtured that with me tremendously. And on my own and by myself with John, I'm a very playful person. And I love to be playful with John, love it. So we have built a atmosphere of that with ourselves. And I've said to him many times, honey, you're really funny. And which is not what you might normally think, having had the experience you had, but he is. And he's just getting funnier as he has a funny take on things. It's so enjoyable. And also for me, John has been the greatest teacher of not taking personally any personality. Not that we're not very human and that we don't at times, of course we do, but you could almost say that's why I love to play with him about smiling. Like when he smiles, I say the universe just opened up and everything is good now and forevermore. It's so powerful. So it's just a wonderful blessing to share that with him and to be spontaneous every day and to have take the freedom to speak. Sometimes, we've been doing this for 4 years, except for the hiatuses we take. We've been very continuous. And there are days, probably like all of us, I don't want to talk. and yet here's blessing this day. And I just take the freedom to support and not have to feel like if I don't speak, I'm doing something wrong. I just don't speak. It's one of those days. And that we're all in that humanity together. That's the other thing I love about blessing this day. John and I both feel immensely connected to you, to everybody. It's like you're looking at a screen, but it's like this like sound that's resonating of our hearts together. And anything is almost okay. But I do love jokes.
And I experience you really holding your own through blessing this day and holding your own with John. And that's really, that's really something, in the way that you do that, that you don't let things slide when you could, and I think I just so appreciate that about you. And how you show up, day in, day out, because that's so human that we all have days when, you know, when the hair is wet, when this is not working, when something else is going on. And to me, each one of those days is like a little nugget, a little gold nugget. And maybe you hear us, but at the end, when you say, we love you, I'm going, we love you back.
It's a wonderful experience. It really is. I mean, one of the things I learned through it, not dissimilar to what I learned in being in the film business, there's no excuses. You have to show up. And there's something amazing about that, where there's no wiggle room. So to work with that becomes another whole expression. And like even when I had my hip surgery, he said, next morning from bed, we're doing blessing this day. Okay, if I put a ribbon on, I remember in making things in the now with the circumstances as fun as possible. That's been one of my blessings in blessing this day.
And your cat shows up too.
Oh, yeah. Yes, Gabriel is very cooperative.
You sweetie.
Thank you.
Thank
Doc.
you. Thank you.
Thank you for grace.
Thank you.
Keep it up. Okay. Alicia, this is one of my beloveds. Hi there, honey.
I love you. It's good to see you.
I love you too.
Well, it's so funny because my question was around joy and humor and playfulness, and then I'm like, oh man, Miriam, I must have been tuning in because Miriam said something you did. So I guess just building on that, because I think those are some of the qualities I just love and appreciate about you so much, is the humor, the joy, the playfulness. And I just was wondering if you could speak more about those qualities in general and the blessing of living life from those qualities. And also for you personally, have those always been traits or qualities that you have had in your life since a child? Or are they things that you have developed over time?
Well, as you were asking me the question, I was seeing my mother very young. She would read to me. My mother, thank God, and my grandfather, they would read to me in these books and kind of act out characters. And I loved that. I just loved that. I loved cartoons. We were Disney children in the early days of Disney, and that kind of playfulness. Animals for me, very young, I just wanted to play with animals because they were so playful. And I love the freedom, the spontaneity of playfulness. And I like silly. I like the silliness of playfulness. Not, I don't know if there is such a thing as serious humor anyway, but I think I've had this with me forever. I don't see like was a turning point. The funny part about it is simultaneously I was shy and introverted, but with animals and with my parents, I was very playful, and my mother played with me. She really encouraged my imagination. And I must admit, I would anthropomorphize all my dolls. I had all my dolls, and I every morning I'd say, okay, you have to change places now because everybody gets a chance we can cuddle together. And I would give them, I would attribute to them a great deal of personality and in feelings and so forth. So somehow this was a world of play for me. Uh, um, and whatever books I've read when I was really little, that the little engine that could, and my mother would act these things out and bring them to life. And I just thought that was something wonderful in a world that seemed so terribly serious to me when I was little. My imagination and animals gave me these breathers of wonder. And again, I had strong influences with an amazing grandfather who I've spoken of, who was a farmer. He was a professor as well, but he opened my eyes. He would take me for walks. He called me Tyke, and he'd take me for walks, and he knew, it seemed to me, everything. Like he was someone who knew everything from a little person's point of view. And he would point to trees. He would identify their different qualities, their different personalities. He would point to worms after a rain and talk about how they moved in water. He evoked that wonder. And I think wonder is a child's quality. It's an enjoyment of the mystery of life, a real enjoyment of it. And curiosity is as well. I think if we let our curiosity go, that it's kind of deadening, that curiosity is part of the wondrousness of it all. And boy, are we part of a big wonder. It's a never-ending wonder. I mean, the more I go along in MSIA, it's not I'm more full and, oh, I know. It's the opposite. I know less and less and less. And the only surrender is wonder. It's like, let it show up, let it be the great mystery it is, and enjoy it. So you have all of this in spades, my dear.
It's why we get on so well.
We do. We enjoy all that. Alethea helps me so much in my life. I'm so grateful to her. And Olga, it's like having someone at my back as I do the things, the Lee life part. You just such a beautiful gift to me. Thank you.
Thank you, Lee. That is absolutely mutual. And John and Gabriel as well. Such a
Yes,
blessing.
I told Gabriel he's a very lucky cat. He gets a wonderful mother, a wonderful father, and he gets a beautiful girlfriend. I said, now, how many cats get that? So when we travel, she sets the stage for me not worrying about Gabriel. She takes care of him. He adores her. And when I come home now, he sort of looks at me on the verge of boredom and peeks around like, is she behind you? He loves you. Wonderful. I'm so happy.
I love you, Lee. Thank you.
Bye-bye. If anybody else, Janet, if you see a hand, honey, please call because.
Yes, Clara.
Hi,
Hi,
hi, Doc.
hi, Lee. You touch on so many things that I've been experiencing, and I just love the child factor, the innocence factor, the sense of wonder. I relate to that since I was a child with creativity, and like when I had to study math, I just didn't like that. And when I first went to music classes, and they said, well, the rhythm goes 3, 4, ta ta ta, 6, 8, ta ta ta. I was like, I have to count? No. But last year around January, you were present there. I had a very potent experience, to call it that way. And you were there. You helped me a lot with that. And you know, I was still grasping what happened for me internally and how that manifests physically for me in my consciousness. And then when you were saying goodbye, we were traveling together, and when you were said goodbye, you said you're doing great, and I kind of didn't really grasp the madness. I mean, the how big that was, and I was like, oh, okay. And so, and you said, take it in. To me, it was more like a job. Like I'm gonna learn how to really take in that I'm doing good and that
Yeah.
I'm doing a great job with Clara. So it became my, let's say, my mission through the year. And this year's birthday was like a pouring of blessings. My birthday was yesterday, and I felt like a pouring of blessings of, yes, you've done a good job. Keep going. Just that voice inside, keep going. And I'm really grateful that you are part of that journey for me, and John, of course, and Gabriel and everyone here. But I'm just very blessed to be in blessings to stay with you every day. And
Thank you, Clara, really.
yeah. And just whatever else is just whatever you have there to share with us about that, you know, that we're doing good and that we owe it to ourselves to really be good to ourselves. I mean, to me, that's been like a major thing, and it goes beyond the words. It really is like, yes, because who I am in essence and who we are in essence, it doesn't matter in this physical level, really. This physical level is just an experience, and that's it. And so for me, if you want to expand on anything about what's the key to really remember that in essence, we're all good, we're doing really good, and we really love each other. We really do. And loving ourselves as is really, to me, that's my main job, is loving myself just as I am, with every beautiful thing and everything that I don't like sometimes, and embracing that really to the max. How do you do that, by the way? So maybe that's the question, was how did you actually do that when you see yourself doing something, oh, like that?
What is the exact question, honey? How do I do what
How do
exactly?
you do the loving yourself in the midst of something that you don't like about yourself, or something you probably judge yourself about, or you feel short?
Well, you know, it's interesting. Several things were coming to my consciousness while you were talking. One of them that is such a powerful statement that Jesus made that I hold so dear to my heart. You know, you do it unto me. That when we speak harshly to ourselves, that we fell short in our eyes, and that we put that energy onto ourselves. The Christ is living in here. We're doing it to the Christ. It isn't Clara the personality, Lee the personality, or what jobs we do or don't do well enough or whatever. This is the living Christ. We've been told it again and again. It's awakening more and more. And when we turn on ourselves, we're doing it to the Christ. And that one day was a real epiphany for me. The other thing I realized is that the idea of being good to myself or taking care of that was more of a mental concept. What do I do to be? No, I thought I took Jer's words. If you're being good to yourself, you spend time with the Lord. You spend time with the Lord. Let the Lord take care of it. The Lord is living in here as you. And when you spend time with the Lord, it's like you're washed clean. And yes, you see where you could have done better, or I see where I wish I had spoken better or done it, asked for something better, or not been impatient or whatever. And I see it. That Christ in me is taking me into account. I'm looking, but when I spend time with my assis, or I'm praying on it or feeling washed, you keep doing that. We're taking care of ourselves. Jared said, taking care of yourself is not going to the movies, reading the book you want to read, or whatever, or a great meal. That the great meal is for the basic self. The book is for your mind. But if you want to take care of yourself, spend time with the Lord. And that's always been my way. have to get in my chair, pray, chant my tone, call on the light, ask for help to be better, and just let it go and let the Lord work with me doing it rather than my mind, or it's something I have to do, or, it just engages the ego again. It's not that. It's, to me, it's a letting go and a turning ourselves over to
Yes.
what is that higher love inside of ourselves. And it takes care of it. No
Yes.
judgment, no guilt, no, just we go back into the flow of that attunement.
Yes, thank you so much. I think I'm actually in the right track then, because it's been a wonderful experience of reconnecting with that essence. It's in the trusting that I'm really being taken care of.
Yes.
It's really amazing.
I was sharing that on Blessing This Day today. I think it was the Sat of this month at the end, or it's one that's coming in April. I don't know which it was because we listened to so many variations, but where JR said, if you worry, it's very human, but you're making a statement. If you live in your worry, you're making a statement of no God, because God's got you. Just trust it and let go and just carry on. But worry is an affront. It's like saying, I don't trust you, God.
Yeah.
You don't have me.
Yeah.
And that's just, we know it's the mind, and we know it's the basic self, and we know it's these things we work with. Being a human being is the biggest management situation possible. We're managing, we're CEOs of ourselves with God at the helm, and it's a big deal. And on top of it, we do everything else we do, let alone what we do when we go to sleep at night with the traveler. We're working. Thank God.
Thank God for that. Yes. Thank you so much. And speaking of the chosen, by the way, I didn't hear about the chosen from you guys. It was later on that you guys mentioned it. But my mom, I showed the chosen to my mom now that I went to Colombia and I was there for over a month. And I showed, of course, in Spanish. And at the beginning, she was like, but that's not what happens. I'm like, oh, I didn't know you knew what happened, mom. That's so amazing. And then when she got into it, she finally went like, oh, you know what? Now I want to watch it with all my friends. So I'm trying to figure out how to make it available to her from here to watch it with her friends. It's such an amazing,
Well,
it's
you can buy the DVDs if she has a DVD player, which means she could create an atmosphere where she could watch it with her friends. I bought the DVDs
oh,
because
really? I didn't know that.
I could put them in and shift around anytime I wanted to and replay. So I felt more in that kind of freedom when I bought the DVDs. They're not very expensive at all.
Great.
You might have them in Spanish.
Oh, yes. Yes. Thank you so much.
Thank you, darling. Bye.
Bye. See you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow. Janet, I leave it to you, honey.
We have a hand raised by Danny Saffron.
Danny.
It's actually me, Kathleen.
Hi. Yes, I was going to say, even without my glasses, that doesn't look like Danny to me.
And I apologize for my dark glasses. I had some eye surgery today and I have steri strips and look weird. But anyway, I'm so glad to see you here, glad to connect. I too am such a fan of Blessing This Day. A couple things. One thing I wanted to share that really touched me was your sharing on Facebook about Ryan O'Neill. And what it taught me was there are a lot of people I've forgiven in my life, but I didn't acknowledge the learning I got from them. And that has just kind of transformed a lot of those bumps that I had, and so thank you so much for that. It was such a beautiful sharing. And also I saw Patrick's he had written something about Ryan also, and it was equally as beautiful and acknowledging. So that was that. The other thing I want to say is I've been doing improv for the last couple of years, and I'm not somebody you would probably think would do improv, but
I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you. That's a great thing to do.
well, I love it. And I was very inspired earlier when you were talking about the Christ and the Holy Spirit. And I have to say, my ego does like it too. And I'm a little concerned about, I mean, not concerned, but I want to make sure that I'm doing it for the service and the fun. And rather than, oh, look at me, I did this.
Listen,
So
if you're a performer in any capacity, you have to let your ego join the party. You know, it's part of the team. The ego is part of the team. It's, if it wants to be the only member of the team, then you can talk to yourself. But let it be an active, vital, vibrant part of the team. Because yes, there's something in there that needs to use the willingness to be seen and share. Maybe you could put it in terms of, I just love to share. And
well, I've often, or recently I said, you know, I think I'm a closet extrovert. And
isn't that fun to find out?
Yeah, and the more I do it, the more I love doing it. So, and I'm just so grateful. I just have to end with this, that we are all connected to the traveler. We
Oh, who's that?
oh, this is Darshi.
Darshi?
Darshi.
Oh, and who's
there's
that?
That's the Princess Yodi. And my beloved husband, Daniel.
Oh, what a group you are. Oh
We
my
are.
God.
And
What
she's
a-
very free with improv. She's very good.
Oh, I love it, honey. I hope you keep it up because we all have these talents.
We do. And I guess again, I want to end the traveler. I never realized what a gift, especially in the early years, how we are just, we won the lottery. And I just bless everyone on this call. Thank you, Lee.
Thank you.
And God bless you.
Thank you. Thank you for talking with me. Thank you, Danny. Thank you. What's her name?
Yeah,
Princess Yodi. We named her after Yoda.
Princess Yodi. Oh my God, she's adorable. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
So we have Jennifer Hallett.
Oh boy. Jennifer, where are you?
My computer's stalling a bit, but hi, Lee. Hi, guys.
Hi there.
So, Lee, how do you go through life so gracefully? I mean, you're putting yourself in, you've had challenging relationships, well, according to what I've read. And God bless you, John. Love you too. And I mean, you have patience. And sometimes when I'm around challenging people, I don't let myself get that close. But your soul comes present all the time, no matter how much you're traveling so much. And you have, we all have physical challenges, but you just do it with such aplomb, such grace. Is there something that you have found through your life has kept you going consistently?
Well, it's interesting. I'm asked that question kind of a lot, and I can't say I know what it is other than what keeps coming up inside is I just love God. I love God so much, and this is the way I can do something about it, is I can show up and let God meet me at the point of my action, which all ties in a lot with that thing of courage, showing up, endurance in all sorts of circumstances. And indeed, I've had some, if I ever did write the book, it would be probably kind of shocking, because there've been a lot of kind of shocking people, and they've been my teachers. When we were saying hitting the lottery, John is my lottery. I feel like whatever I had to learn and go through to be with this love we have and share and life we share, it was worth every bit of it and more. I feel so grateful, and that we get to share this work. And of course, he holds a high bar. Anybody who's worked with John knows that it's impeccability with a little smattering of ruthlessness and focus and dedication and endurance and showing up. All of it is in my field all the time. So that is always sustaining me as an aspiration to show up. There really is something to that thing they taught us in Insight 1. Spirit meets you at the point of your action. Oh boy, do I find that true. I mean, I may be exhausted, and if I don't allow, it's not like what Jared would say, it's not that you go down, it's how long do you stay down? You know, it's that I've built this muscle to get up, and it sustains me. Certainly it sustains me with the travel, because I also learned how to get over any spoiledness around travel. Like, I'm not getting sleep, I need more. No, John just taught me right away, 15-hour trip to Australia. We're going to go right to work. And how you get over jet lag is you immediately go on their time zone and you show up to it, and you're met and you're nourished. So I think spirit has so much to do with it. And like everybody else, I'm in the aging journey. Like, I call it the adventure of aging. There's always a surprise or two. But that's where people like you, who have this amazing humor and wit, is so helpful. Are you doing your humor, honey?
Yes, I've been writing quite a bit and actually helping some people laugh in this place that I'm visiting. So
Good. It's just people who have your gift
Ooh.
to have another perception and a laugh about it, because I think it's funny. That's why I have to reel myself back from too many aging jokes on blessings, because I think they're hilarious. But we might as well have a good time, since we do know we are going home. That's the pot of gold. Anything else, darling?
You there?
I'm not sure if anyone's talking. Oh,
There she is.
I want to know, how are you doing, Squirrel?
It's breaking up a little, but I love you, Lee. Love you, John.
I love you
you.
too.
Thank you. God bless.
God bless you. Jennifer is a saint with squirrels. She takes damaged babies and nurtures them back to health. It's just wonderful.
Yeah, there's this baby.
Is there someone else?
I don't see another hand raised right now. If there's like some kind of wrap that you want to do, the thing that's coming through to me right now for this is there's a lot of mothering that you do
That's,
in this world.
I love mothering.
Right.
But I don't think I've ever been one of those, I don't know. Our perceptions of ourselves are sometimes corrected by other people. That's funny. But I
think
love,
I'm referring to your warmth, to your expansion, to your wanting to create, to your love of the things that matter, the simple things that matter in life. That's what I'm referring to.
Well, I absolutely care deeply about people. I love spending time with people anywhere I am. I like to know about them, be with them. That interest I'm grateful for.
So we have put your email address, the light at lty.com, in the chat.
Okay.
And we've also, I think, put earlier your website so that people can go take a look at that.
Okay.
Just to say a couple of things, we do have things coming up after this. In the whole month of January just kind of fell into line. And so we have, after this wonderful start to the year, Russell Bishop will be coming and doing some work on the making 2024 your best year ever. And then Candace Simagran is going to come towards the end of the month. And then after that, we will be able to offer a free 5-night Power Within You PTS class through Movement Monday, and it'll be free. So we'll be doing that, and our email address is in the chat as well. So Lee, since it came up, I was wondering if we could have the great gift of a planetary blessing from you. You're muted. Somehow you got muted. I didn't mute you.
Am I unmuted?
You are unmuted.
Good. I'm sorry. I don't know how I did that. I see an old friend I'd love to say hello to if it's okay.
Oh, no, absolutely. Whatever you'd like to do.
Linda Joy Lapointe.
Okay, hold on. Let me get her up here.
Hello, my darling.
Oh my goodness. You're such a sweetheart to me. How are you?
I'm doing well, and I keep thinking of all the things that you have shown me and taught me and demonstrated for me, especially with the walking in the light. I remember in your bathroom along your shower wall, you had all the pictures of walking in the light in those plastic frames, you know, so they wouldn't get wet. So it's like you were never nonstop. Even in the shower, you know.
I still love with the smoke of the mist of the shower. I like to write on it. But I just want to thank you for a treasure I have in my life that you helped me create, which was my master's project with the photos and everything else. I still have it. And if I have a time where I'm forgetting myself, I go to that. I look at that. It was such a treasure. We had such good times. I remember the cat Lucky, who I loved so much. You would come over and put little electrodes on him.
I was laying on the bed with a sprained back on my couch and I could barely move. And you called me and you said, Lucky's having an asthma attack. You have to come. So coming from Ventura to Valley Village was no easy task. And I said, but Lee, I have a sprained back. And you said, but it's Lucky. So I had to pour myself in my car and somehow my back didn't hurt.
Well, I'll never forget those electrodes you put on this cat. I think I have a picture somewhere of it. I just wanted
microcurrent machine, yeah.
Microcurrent machine. I wanted to tell you that I love you, Linda. You're always in my heart.
Thank you. I love you so much.
All right. Let's see what we can do for our beautiful Gaia, planet Earth. Father, Mother God, we attune our consciousness at this time, letting go of any energies that are other than peaceful. Just let them go into the spirit and dissolved. And to bring our most loving attention and intention to however we choose to see this planet. Perhaps you see yourself in outer space looking down as a version of an archangel with light pouring from your heart and love towards the earth. You might envision that you're standing on the earth and your feet are feet of light, and that everywhere you walk, you're blessing the earth, whether you're conscious of it or not. And let's just bring the spirit of the earth, the beautiful, loving consciousness that illuminates this earth with life force. And just say a prayer to that beingness. We love you. We bless you. We place our light and our love all around you, permeating into the earth. And as the light lifts, it brings out any negativity, anything that we have created into manifestation that is not sustaining to life. We give it up, we pull it out into the light, asking that it be cleared, transmuted, and rain back down on the earth as loving, pure loving and healing. Seeing that this is pure vibration, infusing the earth with the vibration of our Christed nature into the earth, into her Christed nature. It's like the finger of God that each of us are, touching into earth, infusing it with love and light and sound of the Christ. We see the heart of God opening as a vortex, light pouring forth onto and within each one of us, onto our earth, our Mother Earth home, and all who are alive on this planet, who are sentient, as nature, as trees, as waters, as animals, as beautiful air, earth, full of vitality and love. Father, we ask that we be reminded as caregivers of the earth to send light to our earth as often as we remember and say thank you for sustaining us. Thank you. God bless each one of us as light bearers. The lives we live, those we love, the animals around us, everything is an opportunity to love. We thank our travelers who've given us everything to know who we are. The Lord Jesus Christ. Thank you, John, and thank you, JR. Thank you, Mother Gaia Earth. Berush Beishem.
Well, this was truly magnificent and so exquisitely. Thank you so much.
Thank each one of you. I love you so much. Isn't it all better that we get to be together in this life? We're together. It's amazing.
I think so. And you brought us all together. So thank you for,
You did a pretty zippity doo dah job yourself.
well, it's, it takes a village. Um, but I'm just glad. Oh, we have another hand raised if you actually want to talk to somebody else.
Sure.
We can keep going. It's Perkabina, and he is in Nigeria.
Oh,
And so he's
please.
up in the middle of the night. Perkabina?
Yeah,
My goodness. Thank you for being in the middle of the night with us.
thank you so much, Lee. I'm so glad, to have been part of this evening's program before the wisdom that, and I've come to realize so many things, even as you have shared, how one lives in this world, surrounded by so much problem. And for that singular word that you shared, that yes, things can be so rough, but the wisdom that you shared, that is how quickly you get up one more time. And I'm so happy for that message coming through. I just want to say thank you. God bless you.
God bless.
I love you. Yeah.
I
Thank
love
you.
I feel your presence, you're loving, you're showing up. You're blessing us. Thank you.
That's
Thank
as
you.
beautiful a thank you as I could ever hope to hear tonight. Is beautiful. So anyway, my loves, thank you, Lee. I hope you will please come be with us again.
Absolutely.
You are so exquisite. And this was a beautiful evening. And I'm glad that you shared an evening of living in God's holy thoughts.
Yay! With
Yay.
everybody. We're all in it together. I love you. God bless you. Maybe I'll see you in the morning at Blessing This Day.
Right. Right. Good night, all.
Dear.
Good night.